Spider-Man's in a foul shot and reporting on the Bamboozled Again News Network, where the whole entire Earth, the way it's constructed, functions, is supreme bamboozlement to the utmost. And I think that's why we're, let's say, prophesied to go through a certain level of awakening, because you don't wake up until you realize you were asleep. You know what I'm saying? But if you're anything such as myself, you might have had certain inklings like this don't make no sense, or why is this the way it is? Like I'm a why guy. It's not enough for me to know why something, or that something is a particular way. I need to know why it's like that. I want to know what the catalyst. How did it become like this, yo? Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but I woke up this morning and my construct of time is completely off. Let's say a couple months I'll be 43, but it seems like just a year and a half ago I was turning 40. You know what I mean? In 5 months I'll be 48. Like the math isn't mathing. The weather is, and it's a certain detachment or fractioning, as I like to call it, where I never remember the weather operating in the manner that it does now. I've seen clips of people, pick a snow, right? But the snow don't melt. You know what I mean? Like this, even if you don't believe that we're in some level of a matrix or a simulation, it's glitching, because what we thought the matrix was in reality now is ever changing. You know what I mean? The animals are doing odd. They're dropping out of the sky. They're releasing themselves from zoos without any keys. You know what I mean? It's insane. Like time literally feels like it's speeding up. We're 2/3 of the way through 2025, when in reality it feels like it should be April. You know what I mean? It's already hump day, and I'm preparing for the second half of the work week where I wind down, and it seemed like just 12 hours ago it was Monday morning. You know what I'm saying? The quality of individuals behaviorally are getting more degenerate. You know what I mean? Regardless of finance and social status. It seemed like, and now I'm starting to see the double-edged sword of, let's say, isolation, where we're kind of human, so we have a certain component to interact with other human beings. So isolation may be vexing. I'm just going stronger in it and now enjoy my peace. Now I see the reason for it, or the ability to be given spiritual eyes to discern people. You know what I mean? Because it's like everybody's getting hacked at this point, yo. I don't subscribe, but for some odd reason, the Genghis Khan of the Hebrew, well, you say he ain't Hebrew. One day he is, one day ain't. Ringo TV, right? And now he's basically saying, everybody's fake. But we have fake people projecting, saying everybody else is fake, when, like, if you just go through, whatever their talking points on YouTube, they're going about it in a fake fashion. You have devils calling other people demons and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like that meme of them three Spider-Mans, they're all pointing at each other, blaming each other, but they all do the same thing. Like even the kingdom, let's say socially, right? Socially, the kingdom of, let's say, the matrix, various social groupings, finance. Now what I'm saying, these people are turning. The thieves, there's no honor among thieves. The thieves are turning on each other. The thieves are diming each other out and throwing each other under the bus. When, let's say, before COVID, they were all grouped up, anointing themselves over a demographic of the populace. Now they're stabbing each other in the back. And if you're anything like myself, I'm sitting on the sideline with the popcorn, checking out the show, tripping up off of them. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's funny to me. Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Slow and steady, like Paul say. I'm on the Paul tip here lately. I'm paraphrasing. Run this race with endurance. Slow and steady win the race. I'm saying people who had money all their lives, hustling or whatever, go back to jail, not for hustling, but because they beating up their woman. You know what I mean? Or I sold drugs all my life, and then somehow down the road, I end up in a relationship with a woman on drugs, and then she destroys me out the frame to the point where I don't forgot who I am, or like I can't get other women. I don't. I'm catching the content of the sisterhood, openly promoting witchcraft. This ain't what you think it is, Jack. And sometimes if you in the picture, it's hard to see the frame. Sometimes it's hard until you get removed and see it in totality. Then you can see all the nuances of the picture. You know what I mean? So for, let's say, the brothers, and I've been in this space where, let's say, you in the streets or whatever, it's hard to break free because you're in it. Not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally invested in it. Let's say you go to jail for a period of time, or go to rehab, or let's say you move. Go back, such as, myself, and you see it totally different. When I rolled through the hood, or low income, Negro community, back in the day, and it might not have been the case, it just seemed like that to me. It seemed like, brothers might be smoking or drinking or whatever the case may be. It looked like they having fun, they kicking it, you know what I mean? They calling plays, they making something happen, right? When I roll through the hood now, it don't seem like that. It seemed like everybody face frowned up, everybody just getting high to cope, not necessarily to celebrate, you know what I mean? I remember back in the day, it wasn't uncommon for the sisters just to, walk up, not like the harlots or nothing, just to be outside and it was a different energy back then, you know what I mean? Now, if you see a sister walking outside, you can almost guarantee she for sale and she's used up. Ain't nothing outside but nature. Anybody outside and they playing that outside game? How Juvenile said, that outside make them sick. Yes, literally now. The STD rates are astronomical, but ain't nobody stopped splacking. They still splacking like him. And not only are they splacking, they're splacking not because of, let's say, attraction, finance. I would dare even say opportunity. They're just splacking because the opportunity is presenting itself. Here's a human, doesn't matter the gender, here's a human, I want to get butt naked with them. You know their name? No. We're being morphed. I don't know if the Jab Babula had something to do with it, right? But we're moving into a space where we're almost operating in a beast-like sense. I guess since the beast system is rising, there's no critical thought. I mean, I started Bamboozle Again News Network, and then come discover nobody cares about being bamboozled, but they'll complain about it all day long while they try to bamboozle somebody. Nobody, for the most part, in a general sense, is playing the game straight up. Like certain principles and morals aren't in application. They're just in intellectual rhetoric. You know what I mean? Let's take my man Dr. Umar, right? He continues to champion, but he doesn't differentiate for the most part the modern black woman versus, let's say, just one that ain't like the rest of them, right? But he routinely finds himself in these various scandals or embarrassing situations, and he's one of the most intelligent Negroes we got to offer, you know what I mean? But he's not intelligent enough not to deal with the harlot. And he praises the harlot, and then he'll demean you if you choose not to fool with it. But when you fool with it, you got to make a video talking about the woman smell like fish and all his hair. The shaming you to stay on the plantation. The shaming you to fight for stuff. The war's over. What are we fighting for? That's like playing a basketball game after the buzzer went off. It's over with. Protect yourself as best you can, operate in wisdom, you know what I mean? But all this societal stuff, no. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't going, especially when I have conversations with, let's say, the conscious or the woke crowd. Not just got a phone call. None of them take into account. They keep saying we can do this, and reparations, whatever. You ain't gonna get none of that. As long as Babylon, even though it's seemingly on the life support, is in operation, you'll never arise because of the programming, the indoctrination, the value and belief system of the culture that you find yourself operating in. But we can't, let's say you're, just the non-awakened. You may know that to be the case, but you can't see yourself outside of the symbiotic relationship with Babylonian culture. That's why everybody preach the problem but never the solution or implement one. And then let's say technically if you try to implement one, you might get unalive. You know what I mean? So I'm just waiting this one out, which is a spiritual principle of patience and waiting on the Most High time and it. You know what I mean? Because I can't fix none of it. And let's say, in theory, I hypothetically could. The same people, me fixing the situation, would benefit, would be the first ones to stop me. I wonder if anybody has actually looked at the plight of Negroes here in America from a deep dive psychological aspect. What type of person or what trauma has to be imposed on let's say, an individual to fight for the ability to unalive their own children? Think about that. That's like me taking pride in stealing the ball from my own teammate, or shooting not necessarily the enemy, but the same people I'm in the same army with. But I'm prideful of that, when in reality, anybody else on earth would view that as a treasonous act. How is treason against your own kind make you proud? I can't even dig deep enough. I had to smoke me some reefer to even open up my mind, which I'm not. Just to kind of come to some level of a general path of maybe some type of understanding. You know what I mean? How they programmed, our counterparts to take pride in harlotry. That's like me taking pride in alcoholism. Championing victimhood, like the Democratic Party. I'm the champion of the victims. Not like I fight for victims, like in that sense. I'm the worst victim. Y'all celebrate me because nobody can get victimized more than me, and y'all celebrate me for being the biggest victim. What? This is what we dealing with. Somebody say I'm wrong. If you break it down to the molecule, this is what we dealing with. Sometimes, and part of my isolation, that's self-imposed, not circumstantial, is the fact that I just can't. We can believe whatever you want to believe, or you know what I'm saying. It's like everyone now internally has been mass-produced off a spiritual conveyor belt. Nobody asking any questions. Scared to do that. Nobody has any independent thoughts in and of themselves and come up with their own conclusion. Even if it's like necessarily not factually correct, it's the fact you went through the mental process to find your own answer or to make sense of something within your own mind. Einstein said that's why God gave everybody their own brain to think and reason for themselves. Now nobody want to do that. I don't even want to read the Bible. I'll just go to church and have the pastor mind. I'll give him my money so he'll tell me what's in it that benefit him and not me. Just think about that, Joe. Woo-wee. Ha-na-na-na-na-na, said. This is what we dealing with. That's why I don't deal with people like that. Not because I'm better or I think I'm better or any kind of superiority. I can't rep. There's no humanism to them anymore. You know what I'm saying? Especially among colors. I probably have more ideologically in agreement with, let's say, the conservative, middle-aged, rural white man who might be, on observation more, let's say, thinking KKK, stuff like that. But like the libertarian white man, the constitutional white man, I'm probably more in alignment and have a better conversation and share information or just build with him versus somebody in the 35 to 44, black male demographic who all they want to do is pander all day long and then wonder why nobody respect them and then pander some more. Like if I pander enough, they'll respect my pandering to the point where now I garner some respect. That's like I'm gonna let people treat me so bad that eventually they feel bad for treating me this way and then they treat me good. How many times that happened in your real life, yo? But this is the mental construct based on repeated behavior. And then if you just point out to them that that's probably not a sound course of action, and how much has it benefited you in the past and currently. They get like nobody home. So I'm like, is they die? You know what I mean? Um, hey y'all stay up out here, man, and not no fear, nothing like that. But I mean, really be on point. Question everything you hear. Even me, even on YouTube, even on TV, even your homeboy, your homegirl. Because now things are starting to switch. You might have people, 20 years, y'all held each other down, great experience, whatever. And then they might start saying or acting in a way, make you scratch your head. But then you pass out like, nah, maybe it's me, whatever. Shrug it off. The adversary hacking people out there jump, Jack. That's why the word talks about betrayal to a degree. Because if you're operating a certain way and you have a certain spiritual operating program, if I dare put it in those terms, you're gonna get betrayed. It's bound to happen. That's like saying you go to the beach, but you're not gonna get wet. It come with the territory. I mean, now I don't get all bent out of shape about it. It's just a good milestone to let me know where I'm on the journey spiritually, because we're walking by faith and not by sight. Because technically, when let's say you make spiritual changes, moral changes, you know what I mean? Actually, all hell break loose. That's the way I remember. But that's actually a good thing, because the world is fighting to bring you back into its clutches. You know what I mean? And I've backslid a couple times, just not this last time. But when things are, especially socially wise, friends switch up on you, things get mysterious, you know what I mean? That's actually a good sign that you're on the right path, because the adversary is fighting to get you back onto the satanic plantation, because you breaking free. When you break free, like in the real plantation back in the day, and they send out the overseers and, try to get the hounds to catch your scent, you know what I mean? As long as you keep moving forward, whatever that look like for your situation, and don't go backwards. Now, sometimes you can't move forward because, my man Paul talk about the struggle, and I forgot how I worded it, but like a resistance to moving forward per se. As long as you don't go backward, sometimes you can't move forward. The adversity and the winds of life the gale force winds are too much for you to move forward. But as long as you put your back foot back and get dug in and hold your ground, now you might stumble back a little bit, dig your foot down, hold up, you know what I mean? As long as you do that, eventually the wind ain't gonna blow like that forever. And then what you'll realize is, like in my case, I had this epiphany, because you've been facing the wind of adversity so long, you're not realizing it actually made you stronger. So when the wind is taken away, you actually walk and run more efficient than everybody else who hasn't had to face the same adversity. Was that a good analogy, y'all? But I'm just tapping in with y'all on this jump. Just got a lot going on, just responsibility-wise, job-wise, father-wise, community-wise to some degree. So I just wanted to tap in with y'all. And don't be surprised if things get ever more weirder or don't make sense. That's why I stopped trying to make sense of stuff that ain't meant to make sense. It's meant to confuse you. That's one of the key translations of Babylon, confusion. You'll get so confused trying to figure out what's what. Is the Most High doing it? Is the satanic elite doing it? Is the Most High allowing the satanic elite doing it? That you'll lose your ability, or not even the ability, you'll lose track of what you're supposed to do on a daily basis. Pray, meditate, try to eat right, try to get some sun. The simple stuff. Like the word talk about, now I'm starting to understand the simplicity in Christ. That's why everything be overly confused, like the bamboo will just confuse you with a whole bunch of words. I'll leave y'all with this one, right? So I got my man from Baltimore, I'm working with him, right? And he is sure enough Baltimore bro, you know what I mean? And he don't mean it, I don't take it maliciously, but just because, and it takes time for a certain amount of stuff to drop off. So, in Baltimore's hustle city, so he kind of speaks in like a hustle term, like trying to find an end. I don't take it personally. So, we're trying to find him housing or whatever. And it just so happened that one of the grassroots brothers that's in the housing organization had stopped by. So I just put them two together like peanut butter sandwich. You right on time, cuz. So, granted, he doesn't have the requisite, let's say, credit history or whatever the case may be. But he's got cash money. So he get the flexion on the dude, right? And we're like, I can do first lap month right now and start peeling, $100 bills. You know what I mean? So I was like, man, you don't want to do that, da da da. He just fast talking, this, that, and the third, da da da. So then he messed around and asked me for something. So I gave it to him. But I said, I'm just letting him know, what I'm saying? Like, when people are on to you, they're not always going to allude to that they're on to you. So I gave it to him. And then I pointed out the fact. I said, you a real Sirs B. More yo. Because you just totally forgot about the fact you just flashed maybe $3,000 in front of me. And then turn around and ask me for something you could have personally bought. But I just gave it to him anyway. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just letting him know, like, you can try so hard trying to be, just make your speech, I can't talk today. Make your speech plain. All that extra information, that's why I'm starting to think you bamboozling. And then you'll mess around and bamboozle yourself to somebody such as myself who practices active listening skills and social observation. Because you can talk till the cows come home. The one thing you can't get around is the behavior. So if what you're saying and then how you end up behaving don't match, I'm done listening to what you're talking to. Because what I've seen you actually behave is actually more telling to what's indicative of you on the inside. So I know with myself, the more work I put in on myself or trying to, achieve certain goals and so on and so forth, the less I talk. And now I'm in a space where, on a day-to-day basis, what I've done is now going before me and talking for me, even though I ain't never been there. That's saying something when, let's say like the Mafia Don. Now, everybody might not know who he is because nobody has access to the Mafia Don like that. But he has a certain or you'll start seeing how people respond when he walk in the room. So he don't have to tell you who he is. Everybody else finna tell you because of the work he's put in and the respect he's garnered. See, now, everybody just run, especially with, let's say YouTube or just social media in general. Everybody just running their mouth at this point. You had what's that dude on here? I think got channel Rich and Unemployed or something like that. Very telling. I think he just committed some type of $10 million fraud, food stamp fraud, John, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he's telling you how to get rich while being unemployed. How you do that? Unless you're doing something unscrupulous. But the instant gratification, or maybe, if you dress a certain way, wear a certain jewelry, clothes, it'll chime you in. But you can't necessarily do it. Everything ain't meant for you. Just because they do it don't mean it's for you to do it, or that it should be even done. So now let's say you get jammed, you got to pay all the money back, jail time and all, and then do what? Come out and bamboozle again? Because very seldom do, brother, and I was in this space until it set in on me, where when you coming out the world, whatever you doing, you starting from the ground level. You know what I mean? Let's say Paul. He had to start off from the ground level. So it ain't going to be no whole bunch of fanfare. Ain't going to be no whole bunch of everybody liking you and all this here. That's where the isolation kick in. Because you got to get your foundation rebuilt. Because anything built on a faulty foundation, such as Babylon, is bound to drizzle out. And on that note, you can take that naturally and you can put that in your personal life. And you can take that to the bank cash. On that note, I'm going to holler at y'all, man. One love. Y'all stay up out here. It's the 2 + 1 to signing off. One more again. Ooh, ah.